The universe travels the path of entropy. The only way forward is chaos. What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to the second episode of the Draco RC project. What did you think of that intro, eh? Oh, hey, pretty good, huh? It was cheesy as all hell, I know. I'm sorry, you can shoot me later, but first, let's get through this episode. Oh boy, did we get a lot done. If you've been following along in the live streams, you'll have seen I've had a live stream pretty much every day. We stream for about 2 to 3 hours every morning for from 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. And yeah, last episode we laid down the groundworks. What are we actually going to do? This episode I said we're going to work on the wings. And boy did we work on the wings. There was well over 13 hours of footage that I've had to condense for you. The time lapse is sitting at about 30x times speed. It's still kind of watchable, I hope. But yeah, we'll do the voiceover and see how it goes. But there's a lot to go over. Let's get straight into it then. Step 1, get ortho. This is pretty simple. You take your reference material, you chuck it into Photoshop, you use the resize tool. But if you hold Control on the keyboard and grab one of the corners, you can make it all skew-if and change its perspective. So you pretty much do that. You sit and you tweak until everything starts lining up. You take references in the imagery, anything like a circle, straight lines, squares, anything that should be a right angle, and you start stretching and skewing that image until those circles are circles and those squares or rectangles are rectangles. And you just repeat. And the more images you can overlay on top of each other, increases the likelihood that the end result is close to being real-world orthographic as you can get. I had a number of images here that I spliced together in order to get what I believe is a very accurate representation of the real thing. Step 2. Make ortho. And this is pretty much like step 1, except now you grab your pen tool and you create some vector shapes. This is so that you can hide all the other images and export an image that just has this vector shape for you to use as a nice clean geometry to create your geometry. Step 3, import ortho. Self-explanatory. You take the picture you just made, you put it into Inventor or whatever software you're using, and then you use a square, rectangle, circle, whatever you want that you have dimensions applied to, and you scale your image to the same size. Step 4, make shapes. Now that your image is at the right size, you just go along with your lines, your curves, your circles, your whatever shapes you're making, and just trace around their lines. You know, stay within the lines. This is preschool stuff. I know some people like to color outside the lines. I used to color outside the lines because inside the lines can be boring sometimes. But you know what? You need to stay inside the lines here because it's for a good cause. Otherwise, you have to come back later and fix stuff. Just stay in the lines, okay? Stay in the lines. Yeah. Step 4 again. Do it again. Do it again. And do it again. It's not rocket science. I mean, we can do some rocket science if you want. Leave some comments in the comment section. But for now, we're doing aviation science. There's a lot of different shapes on this wing that we have to make. And wow. I'm not going to have another week like this where I try and accomplish one whole task that turns out to be like 6-7 different tasks and not realize it at the beginning and then trying to cram it all into one video. Step 5, take a break. Yeah, take a break. That's exactly what I did after making all those shapes. I'm working on the variable pitch prop, right? So in order to know whether or not that's a good idea or not, I went and did some research on props. Prop RPMs for aircraft of the same size, made a spreadsheet, worked out the centrifugal force, did a simulation, and just to get a rough estimate on whether that's a good idea or not. Turns out it'll work, so we'll go ahead with making our own variable pitch prop. Step 6, copy one of the shapes and make a part. So now we're outside of the territory of just a dumb shape that follows the profile of the orthographic image that you made. Now we get into the nuts and bolts of it. making it hollow, adding the rivets, the details. This is now the part that this is the shape that we're going to use to make the parts out of. So it's a funny, order of process that I use for this, but it's well worth it in the long term. Step 7, adding all the details. Like I said, nuts, bolts, rivets, pipes, fittings, anything that isn't important to mechanical structure, but is important to scale detail. These are aesthetic things. They're not entirely important, but they make the world of difference when it comes to model making. This is one of my other hobbies, is model making. So I'm applying all of that knowledge and information here by making rivets. They're just spheres with fillets. Who'd have thunk? Step 8, create the mechanical features and properties. Now this is the important part. These are this is the geometry that's going to make everything fit together. This is going to make everything function. This is going to make everything stay on the plane. This is going to make everything not fall apart, and this is also going to make things either break or not break. So adding the material properties to the part, making sure that nothing's too thin, nothing's too thick, won't be too heavy, won't be too weak, all that sort of stuff, so that we have a part that's functional at the end of the day and not just a waste of resin. Well, I don't want to be wasting resin, it's too expensive. Step 8, make a new part that connects to your first part, to other parts. So sometimes you have to make parts that aren't part of your orthographic image. These are small things like struts, connectors, connecting rods, arms, things that aren't part of the major shape or, form of the thing that you're making. But they're still important because they'll connect one free-floating thing to another free-floating thing. And this is what I'm doing here, creating these sort of struts, vanes, chines, I don't know. There's probably a proper name for them, but I can't figure it out. So they're just struts. They're just struts that connect the slat to the leading edge of the wing. Repeat step 6, but for the next part. So we've done the leading edge slat. Now we're working on the core wing. The orthographic view I created only created to where the cutout is for the ailerons and the flaps. So I'm creating the little extension that hangs off the end there on the tip and the root of the wing. And then comes the fun part. Once we've got the core wing done, we have to do it all over again by making the aileron, and again by making the flap. What I thought would be a very simple week turned out to be a monster of a job. Next week I'll keep things lighter so that the video is more entertaining and I'm not sitting for a whole day trying to video edit 90% of the content that I created out, because you'd go crazy from boredom. So, holy guacamole. Wow. So, when I started editing this morning, I had roughly 45 minutes worth of time-lapse footage that I had to edit down. And that is 45 minutes of time-lapse footage after making it 30x times speed from the original footage. Whoa. I just looked at my timeline. This is going to be like a 10-minute video. Holy shit. Wow. What did I do? That explains why I feel so worn out. I've been sitting here slogging through this and I was like, why is this so hard today? And then I looked at the timeline and I'm like, whoa, what happened to all the extra footage I didn't need? I'm doing something right. But I tell you what, I'm liking all this extra effort that I'm putting into these videos. I feel like my video quality is taking a next step. Every single video, it just gets better. And I hope you guys agree with that. And we're going to keep that trend going. So, on the next video, we're going to finish off the wing. We're going to get that nice swoopy wing tip thing going. We're going to do the back wings, pointy up wing, and probably work some on the spinny wings a bit more. We'll see what we do. I'm not going to try and get it all done in a week before the next episode. I'll get as much done for the episode so I have time to get the episode, so I don't feel like I'm rushing to get everything done before the episode. Because here I am with the leading edge slat, the core wing, the flap, the aileron, the spar, the 22mm tubular spar, a 3mm spar, a 5mm spar. What else did I... All of the strut vane... We need to come up with a name for that thing that holds the slat to the wing. It's driving me mad. I can't figure it out. So, yeah. Next episode. Yeah, lots of fun. Alright, I've been Chaos, and until next time, expect the unexpected. I'll see you guys later. And a special thank you to all my patrons that help support the channel. If you would also like to support the channel, there's a link in the description.